I'm muted still. You're right. So I was unmuted when I was talking to Ferb earlier. Interesting. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Your Move Live broadcast, coming to you from a somehow cold, still Buffalo, New York. My name's Dan, and today I'm frustrated because my dog pooped in the house twice, and I'm trying to stop that from happening. He's not being very responsive to the training that I'm doing, so I'm trying to figure that shit out, literally and figuratively, mostly literally. But we're here. We're doing it. We're live. I'm streaming. So what are we doing today? Today we're swapping up the content a little bit. We're doing something a little bit different than what I normally do. And it is going to be me reacting to political content. I've wanted to do this for a long time, but have not had the, not means to, but just like not the motivation to. But now that we're in a shit show in the US, I figured what better time than the present to get into this fucking dumpster fire. So today, one of the videos, if not the only one that we're going to be watching, is going to be the I hate this man that we're going to be watching, but I like one of the guests. We're going to be reacting to Piers Morgan Uncensored, which is the dumbest fucking show title. But we're going to be watching that. Specifically, his panel that he had recently where Sam Cedar was involved within the panel itself. And I believe Sam is in it until the end. Okay, he is not. So his portion seems to stop about an hour in, which is perfect. So we'll watch that, and then we'll probably watch another video that's like a little less, but still is politically charged. So here we go. While we're doing that and while this is playing, I will be reacting to it. I'll be pausing it. I'll be talking about portions of it as things come up where I'm like, yeah, we should talk about that. I've not seen this, so I don't know if this is even going to be good content. I don't know if this is like good or not, but Sam Cedar's great, so I love him. I'm going to be playing Monster Hunter Wilds in the background. I'm at higher rank stuff, so I'm just kind of like grinding for monster parts anyway, so it just kind of seemed like a decent bit of content to like have on in the background while I was doing this. So I'm not going to delay any further. We're just going to get into this. I already have it even set up. Look at this. I'm thinking ahead. Hey, I got my stuff going. I'm doing stuff and I'm doing it properly. I'm not just going off the cuff and saying like, oh, we'll figure it out as it happens. Nope, we're being specific. I am going to adjust my camera a little bit. How am I looking when I'm looking at the game? Okay, we're good there. Good there. Full body in the shot. I need to remember where things show up in Monster Hunter. We'll just put me down here for now and take it from there. So, all right, let's get into it. And let me know if you can't hear things or if things are too loud.
In the United States, the brothers left Romania for the first time in 3 years last night after the Trump administration reportedly pressurized authorities for their travel ban to be lifted. Their lawyer said tonight that Trump is the reason they feel safe to return to the United States. The Tates face trial in Romania on allegations of rape, sex trafficking and money laundering, all of which they deny. They're also under investigation in the UK, where they hold dual citizenship. But right now they're in Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis...
Fuck the Tate brothers, if that wasn't clear. And if that, like, if you ever thought that I was, like, just fuck them. Big pieces of shit.
Says they're not welcome. Later on, I'm going to see my bombshell.
I actually don't know when the debate starts here.
Support for Tate, Andrew Tate, sparked a backlash from influential US conservatives. We also talked about the Epstein files and what she told me about the likelihood of criminal charges. Is also star of the Keeping It Real. Joining me now, fast and just...
So, for example, with
syndrome, Elon Musk was invited to maybe the big mineral deal he's due to sign with Zelensky tomorrow is the missing piece
Yeah,
of
that
the
worked out
peace
so well.
puzzle. And from mineral wealth to mental health, the US remains gripped by Doge derangement syndrome. Elon Musk was invited to Trump's first cabinet meeting yesterday, but not everybody was impressed.
And I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect, but when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption.
So is Doge moving
Fucking
too
clown.
fast and just breaking things? Or is it a force for good? We're putting to discuss with my panel. Joining me now are the host of the Benny Show, Benny Johnson, star of the Keeping It Up.
This other
Keeping It
fucking
Real
clown
podcast,
here.
Gillian Michaels, and co-host of the Majority Report, Sam Cedar, and George Galloway will
There's
also
our
be
boy.
joining us a little later. So welcome to all of you. Benny, I want to start with you because I interviewed Alina Habba just actually before I did this debate with you guys. Because she appeared on your show only last and girly towards him, which people are now looking at in a different light, saying, you know, did she put any pressure internally at the White House to help facilitate the Tates being allowed to come to America? She emphatically denied that to me, said she had nothing to do with it. But there's no doubt something's happened that has allowed the Tates to leave Romania and go to Florida. But there, Governor DeSantis instantly reacting in a very negative way, suggesting he doesn't.
Like, I didn't even know that this was really a thing. And of course, like, DeSantis is going to be against anything that, like, Trump is in the front of. He's going to, like, it's going to be, like, sly shit like that. Like, because DeSantis is, he feels slighted by Trump because of the presidential debate and the fucking, like, candidate, really. So if the Tates were invited here by the Trump administration, like, yeah, no shit, of course DeSantis was gonna not let them into the country, or like not have them welcome within their state, because like fucking like, yeah, no shit. Are you gonna make me hydrate? Okay, should probably grab my water bottle, which is over there, but I'll hydrate with the rest of this here tea. I'm drinking a spot of tea. My throat was feeling a little rough, so I had some mint tea today. Shit, I probably just missed out on those hunts, huh? Yeah. These ones go quick when there's two monsters. Tend to go up real fast. You get a lot of rewards from them, so that makes sense. All right, here we go.
He doesn't want a mess. Take a look.
Got me a cuppa.
Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. I found out through the media.
What do you make of it?
Well, Alina Habba is the spokesperson for President Trump, and she can obviously speak in her own right. Also, well done with the questions about Jeffrey Epstein. And this is breaking my entire feed right now, Peter.
Yeah.
So this is spectacular, and we really, truly look.
The fucking glazing, dude. Like, how does Pierce taste, buddy? Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Fucking nerd. Absolute nerd.
Look forward to having these documents and having justice for the people who've seemingly been protected.
Did Pierce tap
by the
phones
federal
to get that and
government,
get into someone's
terrorists, and some of the most famous people on
voicemail
Earth,
for that
including,
information?
but not limited to, members of the royal family, potentially presidents, Bill Clinton, some of the most wealthy men on Earth, Bill Gates.
Potentially presidents like Bill Clinton, millionaires like Bill Gates. Interesting that you're only mentioning the people who are like seen as like left-wing demons by the right wing. Benny Johnson, you absolute right-wing fucking clown.
Why has the federal government been protecting pederasts?
Right, and just to be clear, for those, because those who won't have seen this, but
biggest question.
Well, one of the things that Alina Habba told me, and you've alluded to this, just to explain to people who haven't seen this, because it's running, as you say, riot on social media, is that she's obviously seen what is going to be released later in the day.
Put me up
and
there, I
she
guess.
says it's truly shocking.
Probably fine.
And that she expects criminal charges to follow. And so that's, I think, a really bombshell development in this. And, you know, it goes to the
You're focusing on
accountability,
the
as you
other
say.
thing, huh?
But just getting back to the Tates for a minute, Benny. I mean, you know, I've interviewed Andrew Tate 4 times now, I think. I've interviewed Tristan once. they've always emphatically protested their innocence. But the normal
yeah, no
justice
shit
process,
they
when
would
we
say
talk
that they're
about
innocent.
the
What?
Epstein and the fact that there's been no accountability, no proper process here. Does it sit easily with you? Given
Damn, Piers, you're a journalist? Really? Bro, this you? You're a journalist? Okay.
what you just said about the Epstein case, that you've got two guys who are facing very serious charges of sex trafficking, rape, and so on, who will now very likely never return to Romania or the UK.
Oh
to
no,
actually
guys,
face
they're
any
not going to be able to go
accountability for
back.
that. I'm not suggesting for a moment
The
they're
rapists aren't
guilty
going to be
of
able to
the
go back and
charges.
do more rape.
That would have been determined by a court of law, but we won't get to that stage now. Do you feel comfortable with that?
Well, I mean, based on my reading of the voluminous news reports about what's going on in Romania, these charges have been thrown out. And so, and they've looked at the files and there's nothing in them. And so that's up for a Romanian court to decide. I don't speak Romanian. All I have is news reports to go on. So they were set free by the jurisdictions in Romania.
Were they?
Where these charges
They were still on
Well,
house arrest.
they've been allowed to fly, slightly different. And the UK, where they face other serious allegations, some of the conservative politicians here, led by Robert Jenrick, who recently ran to be leader of the Conservative Party, have been very scathing about this and think that the Americans should send the tapes back to the UK to face justice. So I think
What? Oh man, the
it's a
U.S.
pretty
isn't going to
messy situation.
fucking
If
extradite rapists?
DeSantis
Wow.
throws them out of Florida, for example, and the UK is demanding extradition of them to face what they see as justice here in the UK for the charges against them here, it could get very messy.
Yours is in the UK? I thought he
It could
moved
get
to the
very
U.S.
messy. It was very messy for Prince Andrew of the royal family,
Yeah.
who had to pay a
Right
untold
here.
amount of millions to Virginia Guffrey, who was sex trafficked to him via Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
So I want justice for all people who attack and who abuse children, period. And I want these court cases to be brought and proven out.
Yeah, I mean, look,
there's no
on
quarter.
Prince
It's a
Andrew-
meme right now, Piers. It's a meme right now, Piers, where it's like, are you going to be upset if somebody that you like is on the Epstein list? And the answer for me is no.
Right.
That
No,
these
I
people
agree.
need to be charged and need to face justice, and that's why I'm so thankful that you had Alina Habba on your program.
Yeah.
And
God, just
like
the
I asked
fucking
Pam Bondi 4
blazing
days
of
ago
Piers.
about the
Holy
Epstein
shit,
list. We were
dude.
the first show to actually ask her
Like,
about that list, and she says, on my
when are the
desk,
other guests going to get
and
a
there
fucking
are
chance to
volumes
talk?
in this list. And apparently, according to Senator Marsha Blackburn, this is just volume 1 of the Epstein list. Jeffrey Epstein had his islands and his mansions in Manhattan and his ranches in New Mexico wired for sound. The FBI went and raided. Let's talk about files of evidence. Let's talk about files of evidence. The FBI went and raided.
No one's
these
saying that
compounds
Epstein
and
isn't
got terabytes of hard
bad,
drives. Some of those hard drives,
but like,
were
why are we
marked by
conflating
Jeffrey
the
Epstein
two?
himself,
Like, they're
not by
both
federal
bad.
agencies, as insurance policies.
Like, the Tates are
and
bad.
Evidence.
Like, the Tates are bad, and Jeffrey Epstein is bad. What? Like, what's the debate here? Journalist is a stretch, yeah. Yeah, no, the right wing is completely built on hate. You're right, and it's not even ridiculous because they've always been built on hate. The right wing is like, if you can make an enemy, then like that's how they're gonna get away with shit. Because like, no, it can't be my landlord. It has to be these immigrants. My landlord who's fleecing me for all of my wages in order to live in their shitty fucking hovel that they've given me the privilege to live in. Like, yeah, no shit. Of course, like, that's the actual enemy, but they're never gonna fucking tell you that. Why would they? They want you to be fearful of the immigrant. They want you to be fearful of the minority. They don't want you to be fearful of like the actual threat to our democracy and the actual threat to our livelihood, because that hurts them. Because who's fucking landlord? A right wing. Like, most people who are landlords are right wing. I don't think I've ever met a left leaning or left wing, or even like left adjacent landlord. And you can say, oh, but liberals aren't left. They're fucking diet Republican in this country, at least.
What are they? Why haven't we seen them? Why has the FBI been
God, I
holding
wouldn't put
on
it
to
past
those?
him.
And
He
been
was
holding
friends
on to
with
those,
him.
presumably to protect pederasts.
Okay.
Who's actually in charge?
Yeah,
Who
I mean,
can
look,
tell the FBI what to do? So these are.
And it's
this
probably
is-
gonna
these
slip
are the
through.
cases
He's just
I
gonna
agree,
do
it's
it
huge.
that are
as a
it's
that are
side.
obviously
It has always been ridiculous to me that the only person who's been actually held to account for Epstein, because of course he killed himself or otherwise, he died in a prison cell. A lot of speculation about what may have really happened there, but the only person who's actually...
A journalist, again, a stretch, but someone who is considered a journalist by the liberal media, just straight up said that Epstein didn't kill himself. He implied it heavily, minimum, which, like... I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's an impossibility that he didn't do that, because, like, he made some very powerful enemies. Like, some very powerful enemies, by getting caught, and now there's a list. So, like, would I put it past some of the individuals that may end up on his list to kill him? No, I wouldn't. Because, like, it's fairly likely, but, like, to say that because it's mostly a right-wing talking point. And I thought Pierce was a liberal. Hold on. I thought he was a liberal. Guys, I thought Pierce Morgan was a liberal.
actually gone to prison as a result of it.
Wait, hold on. Dan, I can't risk getting a right-wing landlord. I think it is best you live with your mom. We can't risk you getting a right-wing landlord. Fair.
It was Ghislaine Maxwell, who was his kind of madame and former girlfriend. In relation
Do you
to
believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I don't think anybody knows
Hung
for
himself
sure.
from a 5 foot tall.
No,
hung
listen, I
himself with
agree.
a
It's
toilet
very,
paper from
the
a
whole
5 foot
thing was
tall
very, the
bunk.
whole thing was very suspicious.
All the
Absolutely.
lights turned off.
No,
all
I
the
get-
Okay, so proof that it's a right-wing fucking conspiracy that may or may not be true. I'm not going to sit here and say that, I'm not going to sit here and say it's an impossibility, but it is a right-wing conspiracy. And Benny Johnson is just kind of leaning into that even more, and he is even like, he even got like a, oh yeah, no, like, you're saying that, right? Like, you're saying that he killed himself? Yeah? Jesus Christ. Journalist.
Listen,
Cameras turned off.
I totally understand why
guards fell
conspiracies.
asleep.
I totally understand why theories have run right about it. Who knows? We may never
I
know.
can
It's
I
certainly very
understand.
suspicious.
me slip up there, Piers.
But also,
Somebody knows, Piers.
oh yeah, sure. Look,
Yes,
the point I was going to make about
Yeah,
Prince
yeah.
Andrew. On Prince Andrew, I'm obliged to say this, but obviously he made no admission when he made his settlement with Virginia Giuffre. He paid it's reported $11 million. It's a very strange thing to do if you did nothing wrong.
Pierce is
but it's clear,
right-wing.
You know, to
Pierce
be
is
clear,
right-wing for sure.
He hasn't made any admission
Dude is
of
a
any
fucking right-wing.
guilt about this. Let me move
Yeah,
to
he just-
Sam
he
Cedar here. So there's
calls
two big
himself a
things
liberal,
happening,
even though
both in similar
fucking
territory
no.
here. One, the Tates coming to America and therefore will no longer, it seems, face any court accountability for the charges against them, either in Romania or the UK if they stay in the United States. But DeSantis wanting to not have them there. What do you make of that,
Jesus
first
Christ. Can't even do anything in this game.
I mean, I don't make much of it one way or another. I mean, this is a guy who's been celebrated in right-wing circles, and I don't have enough information to know whether he is guilty of what he's been accused of doing. But to the extent that I'm even aware of who the guy is, it's because he's been featured for so many years in right-wing talk shows and feeded in
Like
in
this
those
one.
circles. So, it sounds like DeSantis is mad at somebody, and it's quite a coincidence that with Donald Trump in office, that these guys show up on our shore. But I guess time will tell.
And what about Epstein?
It's almost like I said that. That's weird. Wild.
I'm interested in finding out what's in those files. Would love to have a revisit of Donald Trump's first labor secretary, who made the initial deal
Get
with
him.
Epstein back in 2000.
Only 8 more years with Donald, Dan. He said he's stretching the law so he can sit longer. Yeah, no, he's been saying that. We'll see how that plays out, if it plays out. Holy shit. If that ends up being the case and he ends up trying that, then that's the true test of, like, is fascism alive and well in the U.S., which, like, it is, but, like, for a lot of people, that'll be the breaking point. That'll be, like, where a lot of people are just like, oh, fuck, yeah, we're going down a fascist rabbit hole real fast. So, holy shit.
2008 as
But then
Attorney
look at the
General.
bright side. I made your year the other day. I gifted the Prez a sub. And you got to ban his ass. True.
Florida.
That's
Talking
true.
about Alexander Acosta.
You did help me ban
I'm
the
curious
president.
about that nexus, to be honest with you.
Yes.
It's really unclear to me how
It's a good feeling
Epstein
to ban the
was
president.
got such a sweetheart deal from that guy Acosta, and why that wasn't
I agree.
held against him by Trump when he appointed him labor secretary. But maybe we'll get some answers if these documents and information is released.
Okay, Gillian, I will come to you for your reaction to those two stories. Just going to take a couple of minutes to talk to Steve Hilton, who's joined us, Fox News contributor and David Cameron's former advisor. Steve, great you found time for us.
Oh my God, Fox News contributor and former. Oh, for all my British people in chat, I'm so sorry. David Cameron advisor. I'm throwing up. Oh God. This panel fucking blows. What is happening here?
Very much, I appreciate it. Just specifically on Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of obviously my great country and yours. They're
My
at
great
the White
country
House
and
today.
yours.
The big talking point is clearly going to be Ukraine. What do you think is going to happen here?
Well, I think the fact that Keir Starmer has made his announcements about increasing defense spending, stepping up in the way that Donald Trump wanted the Europeans to do. That was the whole point of the Trump argument, which is to say, you Europeans
Why am I
need
watching
to
this
step up.
BS? Because I said I would, and I like Sam Cedar, who's the left-wing contributor on the platform. He's also the host of the Majority Report. If y'all need like a solid like left-wing show, the Majority Report, just straight up, very solid. Sam knows what he's talking about. Emma is really great. Bradley and oh my God, what's the other guy's name? The other two are great. And then on Wednesdays when Emma has her guests on, they're also fantastic. So I highly recommend watching their show. Matt and Bradley.
Keir Starmer has done that.
Left Reckoning, also check that out. Really good show as well. That's I think that's Matt's show from the Majority Report.
And so that's a positive.
You want me to hydrate? Let me finish this monster fight, and I will grab my water bottle.
Concerns really about the relationship between these two. You and I both know the president well, and he's very much a relationship kind of guy. I don't know Keir Starmer personally, but looking at him, he's not on its face the kind of individual that I think President Trump is likely to establish a warm rapport with. Frankly, it seems to me he's a kind of pompous, uninteresting mediocrity, not the kind of person that Donald Trump is going to immediately warm to. So I don't know how the relationship is going to go, but on the substance, I think it's promising.
I think Starmer's played a trump card, for want of a better phrase, by when they were talking to the press just now. He revealed he's got a letter from the King, King Charles, which he's given to Trump, which will doubtless be very positive. And Trump, as we know, is a sucker for the British royals. His mother, who was born in Scotland, was a massive fan of the royals. And Trump once told me he remembered watching, his mother waxing lyrical about the royal family. She'd actually watched the coronation of the Queen back in the 50s, etc. So I think that playing the royal card's a smart move.
Oh my God, fucking glazing the royals on your show.
Yes, and I think that, I don't know whether he had a hand in it, but the new ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, very smart operator, whatever you think of his politics, and I think his role in all of this, I think, is only going to be positive because he really does understand how to get things done on this kind of international level, has good relationships in Washington, and I think can really help smooth things along.
Watching the State of the Union, I was able to think, what the fuck,
in making this whole thing work.
No, for real though, that was fucking horrible. I had to turn it off. I watched a little bit, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait for tomorrow. There's gonna be people talking about this. I can't digest this right now. This isn't happening. So I moved on, but yeah, no, it was horrendous. It was just a fucking Trump rally. That's all it was. The entire State of the Union was just him doing a fucking rally in the House of Congress with like the fucking Senate there and God, and like the world watching. Like he's so I mean, it like, I don't need to say this. His ego is just so fucking ridiculous. I know everyone knows that, but like, my God, that just, like, for anyone who wasn't convinced, that solidified it. And if it didn't, you're a fucking moron.
To Florida, and Governor DeSantis reacting very negatively to that. What do you make of this?
Well, I think the whole thing is bizarre. I think that Ron DeSantis, you know, is someone who regularly wants to assert his independence from Donald Trump, his independence from what you might broadly call the MAGA movement. And I think he's just, you know, laying his claim to that. I think we need to understand a little bit more about how it happened so quickly and what's behind all of that. But as you've been discussing, I mean, this is a very, very, you know, popular character, but in many ways a really unsavory one. And so this is not something that anyone, I think, should be celebrating. But we'll have to see how the process plays out.
Yeah, and as things stand, he and his brother are innocent until proven guilty. The controversy about it is that they're likely to never face any courtroom now, either in Romania or the UK, where all these allegations have come from. And that's what is grating with people. Robert Jenrick, who's a conservative leading
Newspaper headlines the day after here was USA.
member of the
United
Conservative Party in the UK, has come out very angry
States
about this, demanding that the Americans basically send them back to the UK. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, send them back.
Well, I don't exactly.
These are the immigrants we should be deporting.
He's going to want to expend political.
Give them back to the
UK.
UK.
The other aspect of it. I think it's just one of these things that, you know, once it's happened, it's hard to see anyone here in America really fighting to kind of reverse it. DeSantis unhappy because it's Florida involved, of course, but I don't see that that's going to change anything in the fundamental point that you're rightly making, which is
demons.
You know, we can't actually establish, you know, to everybody's satisfaction, the truth of all of this until there's an actual legal process that's playing out, and it's not going to play out, it seems.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that, I mean, the interesting thing there will be, did the White House put pressure on the Romanians to allow them to fly? That has been emphatically denied by Alina Habert, who's the counselor to the president, who was on one of my other guests today, Benny Johnson's show last month, talking to Andrew Tate in a very favourable way. She says there's nothing to do with her. But it will be interesting if it turns out the White House did put pressure on them, how that plays out for the administration. Steve, great to have you on. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good to be with you, Piers. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for nothing.
Let me talk to Gillian Michaels. Gillian, these two breaking stories, and they're different, but they're connected as well. They both involve allegations of sex trafficking. In Epstein's case, clear, proven evidence of that. What do you make, first of all, of the Tates? Do you have a view about them?
The Epstein tapes, I don't think we'll ever get. I don't think we'll ever get the full story. I think we deserve it. I would love to know. I'm hopeful, but not optimistic, if you will. Like, I just don't see it happening because I think it will be so freaking scandalous. I absolutely think he was killed, and I think it's ridiculous to think that he killed himself, given all of the evidence we have.
This is what we're talking about, really?
And when it comes to the Tate brothers, I would love for them to see their day in court. I think it's necessary. I personally find them to be despicable characters. Anybody who casually throws around the words faggot and tranny, I can do without. I've lived under DeSantis's governance. I enjoyed.
Am I losing my mind? Did I just have a stroke? Did you have a stroke? Who had a stroke here? Someone had a stroke. I don't know who it was, but someone had a stroke. She just said, like, she said that when saying, I don't need someone who can just casually throw that around. And she didn't even pause, bro. There was no pause. None. No pause. Just full on. Yup, this is it. I'm saying it. What the fuck? what the fuck just happened? Why are we here, man? I can't fucking do this anymore, dog. I can't do it. 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 Oh my God. I don't even want to rewind that because that's not good. No, that's bad. You can't say that. Like, okay, who is this person? Who is this person here? Do they even have the guest list? Oh my God, no, they don't have the guest list up. That's kind of odd. What the fuck, though? Oh, okay. Host of the Keeping It Real podcast, Jillian Michaels. I've never fucking heard of her. Let's look this person up. Oh, it's like the yeah. Yeah, no, she's like a fitness influencer. I remember like she oh God, wasn't she like in the Skechers commercials? Was this her? Why is she in this panel? Oh. Okay. So she's also a right-wing piece of shit. Got it. I mean, yeah, that is probably... Yeah, I don't know why I know. Wait, no, it wasn't her. She wasn't in the Skechers commercials. Oh God, that was someone else. That was Shia, and the person in that had like... She was like battling cancer at the time, or like had battled cancer. I can't remember. Fucking Jillian Michaels. She was... Fuck, she did something like... I remember she was like an advocate for something or like a brand spokesperson for something. I can't remember, but okay. Yeah, she doesn't look like how I remember how she looks in that, like in this panel. Did the press set it into law that now it is only 2 genders in the US? Yep. Well, no, technically not. Technically not. Technically, everyone is an egg in the US. The way that the law is phrased makes it so that basically everyone is female, and everyone is an egg. So yes, but no. But yes. Technically, there's only one gender, and it's egg. Here, let's look at what's the specific wording of the law. Trump gender law makes everyone female. I mean, it's The Guardian, so like take out anything from this with like a little bit of a grain of salt. After his executive order on sex, is Trump legally the first female president? Female means, okay, this is the definition. Female means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the large reproductive cell. Male means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the small reproductive cell. You don't have, you have things closer to the female side of things at like right at conception. That's not how biology works. I believe it is the beanie that let you pick up on gay vibes. That's probably true. It's probably the whole fit, if we're being honest. Like, I've got like the bootcut jeans on. I've got like the fucking not flannel, but like overshirt with the nice like soft crew t-shirt. It's the whole fit. The whole fit makes the gaydar go crazy.
It's quite immensely. He has a pretty squeaky clean reputation. He's a
Still can't believe
dad.
she said that.
He loves his wife. There are no scandals surrounding this guy. And you can understand why he wouldn't want these 2 guys in his state or allow Florida to be dragged into what could become a controversy if, in fact, the White House pressured Romania to let these guys over to the United States?
I think that is going to be the key question, and we'll have to see whether that was the case or not.
Yeah.
Benny, let's turn to the big picture of why the British Prime Minister is in America at the White House with Donald Trump. So far, their exchanges have been very cordial. I've been watching a bit of it. And ultimately, they're there to talk about Ukraine.
Have you guys seen the clip of Trump getting the letter from the king, from the ambassador, and the ambassador's like, well, no, why don't you go ahead and read it? And then he like Trump unravels the thing, looks at it, and is like, wow, great man. He's a great man. Hey, why don't you read this to everyone? Like everyone keeps thinking, like, can Trump not read? Is this full confirmation that Trump can't read? Because like we've all kind of known, right? Like we've all kind of had like inclinations. But like, can Trump not read? Can Trump not read?
And President Zelensky from Ukraine is due to be potentially at the White House tomorrow to ratify this deal over minerals.
So this happened on the 27th of February. I've been waiting to watch this video for this stream. Yeah, that meeting with Zelensky did not go very well.
Do you think this is a neat way to resolve what has been a very
fucking live
complex
crash
and
out.
very bloody war?
I mean, the UK is a mess right now politically, right? Like, is the Reform Party is one of the most powerful parties in the UK, and if there were an election held today, there's a real argument that it would win the prime ministership. So it's a wild and turbulent
Tall
time.
mommy.
I mean, Keir Starmer. First off, is that really a real name? Like, I don't even know how to pronounce it. And then, secondarily, this guy's like You don't want to talk about a real scandal, Piers. This guy covered up rape gangs.
No, he denies
UK.
that. He denies that.
Sure.
Well, there's no.
Listen,
Yeah, but I
man,
think a lot of Americans, to be honest, hang on.
You deny that this
hang
actually
on, Benny.
happened?
Hang on, Benny.
These things actually happen.
Listen, a lot
in
of
the UK.
American commentators have said this stuff on social media, but when you say it on my show, let me just respond on behalf of my country. There's been a lot of bullshit spewed about this. There's no actual evidence that Keir Starmer, for example, ever did what you just said. Similarly,
but is there evidence that this occurred? There's obviously
it clearly occurred, but he was director of public prosecutions.
But this occurred, and it's horrific. I think it's horrific in this country with Jeffrey Epstein. I think it's horrific.
I agree.
I mean, right?
On that we agree.
Principles.
No, yeah. It's just about whether
you don't.
I've got to defend my country. Let me speak here, Benny. I'm gonna defend my country. God, the nationalism is just fucking out of control.
You don't want monsters who are predators,
of course,
here in the country. And so listen, there is somewhat of a connection, but I understand, and nor do I pretend to be some type of expert on geopolitics. I focus very much closely here at home, and I appreciate Sam actually bringing up Alex Acosta, saying that there were higher powers that forced him to give Jeffrey Epstein a plea deal. Who the hell were those higher powers? Sam's right when he brought that up. I think that's insane, and I'd like to know.
Yeah.
That was during the Bush era. That was in the year 2008 when that decision was actually made.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So yeah, again, I think that the guy's in big trouble. I think Trump's being magnanimous right now. We were just at the White House for Kash Patel swearing in. Trump.
The police can now ask you at a DUI checkpoint, "How American are you?" Is that a thing that actually happened? I wouldn't be surprised, but like, did that actually go into effect? I know Trump wanted to sign into law that and I don't know if this happened either. I should really stay up on these things. It's hard to and that's the strategy is fucking Steve Bannon said this years ago, a couple years ago. I think it was during the first Trump presidency. You flood the news, so then they can't keep up with it. And if you flood the news so they can't keep up with it, then you can get away with whatever you want. And like, yes, exactly. That is correct. Just flood the news so then no one can keep up with anything. And then you're just kind of like picking up all the pieces as you're just like waiting to find out what the fuck is going on. Yeah, man, it is It is a shit show, but yeah, I don't know. He wanted to sign into law if you, it's automatic death penalty if you kill a police officer. Which, like, listen, I'm not gonna sit here and say that you should do that. That's not anything that I would ever advocate for. The fact that you're saying like automatic death penalty, man, that's just getting into territory that does not sit right. You know, there's something about that and that wording, because that could mean any, like, if it's like an accidental, like, are there carve outs for stuff like that? Yeah, Judge Dredd is back. Honestly, that's not like it's not a joke, but it is. We have to laugh. We have to laugh, right, guys? We just have to laugh. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Trump is in a very, very good mood. I think he's doing his best to like bring people into the orbit, and he's being Trump, right? So I think he's trying to strike a deal and make it work with the UK, our oldest ally, right?
Yeah, I mean, Sam, let's talk for a moment about the other big thing that's going on, which is this whole Doge stuff with Elon Musk. You, I think, posted that the idea that Doge is in any way about efficiency is absolutely a joke. They're not doing an audit. They're destroying the apparatus of our government.
Correct.
What do you base that on?
Well, audits are done regularly of agencies by inspector generals. The first thing they did was to fire all those inspector generals and not replace them. A. B. Audits that lead to firings within a couple of days are obviously not being done. The notion that this is about efficiency when you're laying off thousands of IRS agents, when it is well known that every dollar spent at the IRS returns for the government $6 or $7. You're clearly not talking about efficiency here as measured in any other way other than allowing wealthy people to get away with cheating on their taxes. I mean, I could go on, but there's absolutely no evidence that there's a single audit going on. To the extent that they've saved any money, it has been largely dismissed as clerical errors on their part, and we still have no substantiation about it. So it's
well, hang on. That's not true. I mean, there's some of the stuff that came out about USAID, for example, some of the way that American taxpayers' money was being squandered on ridiculous projects.
Oh, wait a second.
And it wasn't insignificant sums of money.
Wait a second.
Yeah, no, we can't laugh at this. It is scary. You're right.
You can have an opinion that
The Prez are kicked out and carrying refugees from the states for removing the temp refugee status. Yeah. It's like the I don't know. This is like it's because like I fully agree that we cannot really laugh at this. This isn't really something that we can sit and laugh at and like have a couple laughs over. Because it really is scary. Like truly, I didn't mean to do that. Truly, like we are on the precipice of fascism. Like it's already really happening, but like it's like really happening now. Especially with the fact that like the Democrats just fucking haven't done anything. That's been really neat. I'm saying sarcastically, obviously. I do not actually mean that it is cool or neat. The Democrats have just been like sitting on their ass, not doing a fucking thing. And like that's a problem when you're the opposition and you're saying, "Oh, well, they're in charge of so much. We can't do anything about it." It's like, okay, they fucking did everything all the time. Like all the time they were doing shit. it's such bullshit. Like, anytime that the Republicans are in power in this country, they find a way to be obstructionist. They find a way to make sure that the Democrats can't do anything, that they're unable to do anything, that they just don't have the capability to go about doing anything at all. Yet when the Republicans are in power, the Democrats are like, "Oh man, that's so unfortunate. Hey guys, just vote for us next time. If you vote for us, then like this scary Republicans won't be in charge anymore. And everything will be fine, guys. It's going to be fine if you just vote for us." Even though when we get in power, we'll just let the Republicans like walk all over us, and like, you just ignore that. Please ignore that. Hey guys, ignore that. Guys, hey, ignore that. I said ignore it. It's fucking ridiculous. I get the feeling of the Cold War, but this is way worse. The president's saying that strong is right. Yeah, there needs to be an actual left-wing party. We don't have a left-wing party in this country. The Democrats are not left-wing at all. Like, everyone's like, oh, the radical lefts and the Democrats. It's like, nope. You got the wrong guys. Those are not the the left-wing radicals that you think that they are. They are the most fucking watered down version of the left. They're just the right wing. I mean, like, fucking half of Harris's platform was just Trump's platform from 2016. Like, it's the same shit. It's the same shit. And we keep letting it happen in this country, where we just let the Democrats get away with doing fuck all, and then we're just like, oh, well, at least they're not the Republicans. And that's not going to get anyone anywhere. The world is going to suffer because of that. And, like, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's squandered. I can have an opinion that it's squandered.
Yeah,
but it's been
they would be.
appropriated by,
And they probably,
the
like, if there
Congress.
are any Democrats that go to your country,
In America,
they're seen
we
as that
have
straight up.
Actually, both statutory, constitutional, and court cases that say the President of the United States and the executive branch cannot decide unilaterally that they're not going to appropriate money that Congress has appropriated. I mean, the line item
And
video
Trump
has
is.
been found to be unconstitutional. We have the Impoundment Control Act from 1974. We have Train v. New York City from 1974, which is a Supreme Court case which enforces that. What they're
focusing on
doing
this fight
is
at all.
fundamentally illegal. I mean, you may think that some of the spending is not worthy. I may think it's not worthy, but that's just not the way our government works.
Okay. Julian, you were shaking your head there.
Because it doesn't seem that the government is working. As a layman, when the USAID is exposed in the fashion that it has been, and all of a sudden we have this transparency that we
did she
never
just say
had
that
in
she's a
my
layman?
None of this
lifetime.
stuff was hidden at all. None of this stuff was hidden at all. It's just that
So
you
you're
didn't bother
telling
to pay
me that the
attention to it.
average American knew that we were funding friggin' operas for trans people in
If
who
the
knows
average
where?
American was
I mean,
interested in
nobody
what
knew this.
USAID was
Yeah,
supporting, they
come
could have
on,
just
man.
gone
Do
to the
you
website.
really
and found-
believe
And bro,
that?
if like the I hope Sam says this, but if the if anyone knew what the what USAID was, like, the fucking Republicans would be having a field day, because it's like their fucking wet dream. It's literally like promoting American exceptionalism to a fucking international crowd. Like, yeah, you would fucking love it if you just like took away the transgenderism. It's like, shut the fuck up. It's literally your wet dream. Like, this is literally what you love. You love USAID and what USAID stands for. Shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up.
Do
Yes,
you
it's
really
true.
believe that people knew this and this was common knowledge?
100% I
And there's
believe
no
it, because it's
question
100%
that some of
true.
this was a
None of
slush
this was
fund for the
secret.
CIA.
It was
Well, actually, you know what? The truth is, you can both be right here.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Sam is right that
Are you trying to both sides an argument where like one person is very clearly like laying out their fucking thoughts on this and like is being very clear on like how they feel, and then the other person is just saying, oh, no one knows about it, even though like it's public information. Shut up. Dan, I've been Googling a new apartment for you where you can keep an eye on the evil Trump Tower. They have a good couple cheap flats, huh?
That it was there to be found, and Gillian's right that absolutely nobody told the American people about
I don't know
the
if they'd let
specifics.
me
So
close
actually,
today.
you could both be right.
Probably on some watch list.
In our process of government,
No, I understand. I'm not
Congress
saying you're
can
wrong.
vote to
I'm not saying it
defund
wasn't there. I'm not saying it wasn't there to be found. But Benny, it was only when Elon Musk and his young team of guys with their saber.
His young team of hackers, not auditors, hackers. Nothing to do with auditing in their background at all. Yeah, those guys. Those brilliant fucks. Yeah, they're going to be real helpful.
Sabers got into it. They found this stuff, right, and told people.
they didn't find it. They just they publicized it.
Well, exactly.
And,
but that's how the
and
but Sam,
they
that's how the
don't
American
have
but Sam,
authority.
that's how the
They
American
don't
people found
have
out about
authority
it.
to cut it.
Yes.
So Congress, Republicans control every house of Congress. They control the presidency. They can pass a bill tomorrow saying we don't want to fund these things. But what's happening when they cut USAID is you've got literally 400,000 meals for children who are technically wasting away. It's in Africa. Maybe my guests don't care about that. But the fact is that they're sitting in warehouses in Rhode Island and in Georgia right now, food that is pre-digested practically because these kids are starving, and it's sitting in warehouses. It's going bad, and they have no way to ship it.
Okay.
Because USAID has been shut down.
All right, Benny.
I'm sorry.
Which is
Like,
fucking
that's
garbage.
not constitutional or legal.
Okay, Benny.
And also, like,
It's incredible.
protect the children, right?
I've heard the Constitution thrown around a lot here. All right, let's talk about Article 2 of the Constitution. The executive branch has a clause called the vesting clause. The vesting clause makes one single man that is elected by the whole American people the only position in the federal government that has the entire whole of the country elect him is the President of the United States, who is vested with the power to oversee the executive. And that includes congressional spending. That includes the functionaries of the government, including the commander-in-chief. There are appointed judges. There are elected at state and local levels, members of Congress, but only the president is elected by the whole American people. Now, I have in my studio. I don't know if your production team can.
Elected by the Electoral College, which is not the people, but okay.
Pop me. There it is. This is what America decided in 2024 in a landslide, and with the popular vote, the whole of the American
Landslide
people
is a
decided to vest a single man, Donald
strong
Trump,
word,
to hunt down waste, fraud, and abuse. Because while maybe there are some type of programs that you might view as just, what I view as just is feeding the American people. What I view as just is filling the potholes, educating, healthcare, and the capacity to serve Americans. And so, what America voted for was America first.
Yeah, I want Americans to be fed, but not those Americans. Not the ones on food stamps. Fuck those guys, right? Just fucking amazing. It's just the fucking the right wing in this fucking country is just the obstructionist party, the fucking contradiction party. That's all they are. They're a bunch of fucking clowns, all of them. Just absolutely all of them. That's
and
amazing.
Transgender operas in Chile isn't exactly America first. And to say that USAID was simply...
You've said a lot of words, but you've said nothing. You haven't addressed the Constitution, the Supreme Court cases, the
Get him, Sam. Get him, Sam.
You can say that you don't think it's right to feed starving children in Africa. That's your prerogative.
Can we address the feed starving children?
Donald Trump, I can't believe you're going with the starving children. You're going with the starving children.
No,
line.
it does. I mean, it does other things that you don't
All
like.
right, let me.
But it
Yeah,
also does this.
I can't believe you're going with
Allow
this
the
fact.
lady
I can't
to
believe you're
run
going
the
with this
USAID
fact.
money
Oh
spent.
man.
Chaps,
Was there
let
more
Gillian
USAID
have her say.
on feeding starving children or a
Guys,
coup in
let-
Ukraine?
No, that's okay. You don't
Guys,
have
let
to.
Gillian speak for a moment.
No,
Gillian,
that's okay. She doesn't
Gillian.
have to.
Big fan of
The
children.
feeding starving children thing is such a freaking red herring. So first of
Is
all,
it?
the vast majority of
How
this
so?
USAID bloat and corruption does not go to that. Second of all, we have children starving here in
denying that
America.
some
But
of it
third
that's
of all,
Correct.
and what you don't
Correct,
know, and
which
what
is
you
why-
have not looked
Which is why
into.
fucking food stamps being cut is a problem. What the fuck do you mean? What do you mean? Like, how are you? Oh my god. Yes, you're right. Great observation there, Jillian, and fucking whatever the Benny. Great, good job, guys. Real fucking great journalism you've got going on there.
Okay, is that read a book. It's called Save 3 Lives, and it's by the Rodale family. And it has to do with the fact that our big ag companies went into the developed world to addict their soil to our GMO crops. It's a money laundering game. They can grow their crops in their soil far more efficiently and did for thousands of years before ConAgra and Cargill and Monsanto and ADM went in. You just don't know that because you haven't done your homework.
What does this have to do with feeding Americans, though? Like, actually getting the food onto their tables. Like, am I... Elon Musk is making a movie. He play a ninja accountant and is set at Fort Knox, produced by the federal government. Oh, man, no, I haven't seen that one. I didn't see he was making that. Wow. I wonder if that's, like, not a movie and, like, actually happening. That'd be crazy. Like, if Elon Musk made that movie actually happen, that'd be pretty wild, guys. Man. Anyway, I bet that's not going on. Oh my god, I hate it here. I hate it here. Welcome to the US, land of mediocrity and shit shows. Every other fucking day of the week. There's the red. Because I'm fucking seething. Oh my god.
So you're like, oh, there's children starving in Africa. When really, it is about billions of dollars going to big ag. That's what that's
I have
really
no
about.
doubt, and I
And I've
have
seen
no
it
problem.
firsthand
I have
when
no
I went to
problem.
South Sudan
I have
and stayed at a
absolutely
refugee camp.
So
don't play your
problem.
starving children card. I can't.
Well, listen, it's not my card. It's just simply the reality. And the fascinating
It
thing
is
about
your
this,
card, though.
Piers,
Your game is like
that
nobody's empathetic
we are
because
talking
children are
about-
starving.
we are
When
talking
that's
about
not what
let him
that's
respond,
really
Gillian.
about.
Let him respond.
USAID is a percentage point, like literally less than 1% of the U.S. budget. But because there is this
Why do you care so
attitude amongst the, well, frankly, it's not just USAID. I don't like them cutting the IRS. I don't like them cutting the EPA. I don't like them cutting Labor Department. I don't like them cutting the National Labor Relations Board. I don't like them cutting the FDA.
Do you like the level
the
of
USDA?
do you like the level of debt your country's in?
I don't think it's as much of a
$37
problem
trillion
as
in
you
debt.
do. But here we know the debt shot off like a rocket with the Bush tax cuts and then with the Trump tax cuts, and they want to extend those. And so if we want to deal with the debt, and if that's a genuine concern, we can go back to the time in this country where we had the greatest economic expansion during the 50s and the 60s, when we had a top tax marginal rate of 90%
Get
of
'em.
every dollar that would be earned over $470,000.
Get him, Sam. Get him. France have asked the U.S. to return the gold. It was in storage. Not able to since they no longer have their gold. Yeah, I mean, hey. They can ask for the Statue of Liberty back, too. We'll give them that. Well, I'll give them that. I don't know. I don't think the U.S. would give them that, but there's no liberty here. Not in the way that... Not in any capacity of, like, what that statue is meant to stand for. No fucking way. None. Absolutely none. So they can have that back too. Ugh, I hate it here.
Today, it would be $3 million. And if these guys are very concerned about the debt and deficit, we have a way of raising that money. We can go back to the greatest economic time of this country. So if that's genuinely their concern, we have that power to do it. I mean, we're not spending, as a function of GDP, we're not spending significantly more per capita than we were in those years. The problem is that we don't have the revenue. There's been huge tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires and presided over by two Republican administrations over the past 20 years.
Okay, Benny, on that point, respond.
Years, I love it. I love it. This is my favorite argument I've ever heard on your show. I love it. Go to the American people. Sam, I beg of you, join the DNC, run for DNC chair. I'll do anything, okay? I want your ideas to be the ideas that Democrats bring to the midterms and to the 2028 election. More IRS agents. Raise taxes to 90% of wages. I love it, Sam.
No,
How do
not
I get you in the
wages,
chair, man?
90%
How do I
for
do
every
it?
dollar.
How do I do it? Where can I donate, Sam?
Jesus Christ. All right. Dan, Google how much the USA pay in interest to China on their debt. All right, let's see, because I know it. I already know. I don't know the exact figure. How much interest does the U.S. pay on its debt to China? The U.S. doesn't pay interest on its debt to China specifically, but it does pay interest on its total national debt. In 2024, the average interest rate on the U.S. debt was 3.32. Explanation: the U.S. government. This is the AI overview, so take this with a grain of salt. Hopefully, it's accurate, but I'm just going to kind of go off of this because we're, again, new content, trying to figure it all out. The U.S. government owns the largest amount of U.S. debt. Interesting. So wait, if the U.S. is in debt to itself, and the U.S. makes, wait, hold on, maybe it's not that bad then. Japan is the largest foreign creditor of U.S. debt, while China is another major foreign holder. The Congressional Budget Office projects the interest payment on the U.S. debt will increase rapidly over the next decade. The Congress Budget Office projects that net interest payments will total $13.8 trillion over the next decade. The Federal Reserve has been decreasing the amount of Treasury securities that they hold in response to inflation. There you go.
Just send the money to me directly.
It's the greatest argument ever. You're right, Sam.
Taxing millionaires and billionaires actually does quite well in terms of Poland. And when Americans see what wealth disparity looks like in this country today, when they actually see the wealth disparity,
yeah, we've seen
it's
wealth
quite
disparity.
popular.
It looks like a federal government that's $37 trillion in debt, spending money on total bullshit.
You don't know what wealth disparity means.
And absolute and total fraud. Hey, Sam, why don't you answer a
You
quick
can
question?
Google it and find out what it means.
Hey, Sam, why don't you answer a quick question? Why are the richest counties in all of America the 5 major counties in the DMV right around Washington, D.C.? Can you explain to me, what do those counties do? Are there some mineral deposits there I don't know about? Did they strike oil? Is there some type of rich industry that's created around Washington? Maybe you can answer me that question. Why are those people so filthy rich? You don't seem to like rich people, so maybe explain why.
I can answer that question.
What does D.C.
Do you want me to answer it?
Sam?
It's lobbyists. It's lobbyists like all of the ones that have been appointed to Donald Trump's cabinet and to political positions. Rich lobbyists for all sorts of these industries that you supposedly have a problem with. I mean, that's where all the money is being made. It's not being made by federal workers. It's being made by lobbyists. And those are sent by corporations. If you will join me as part of my campaign that you're interested in me running the Democratic Party, in calling for Donald Trump to fire all of the lobbyists he's hired so far, it wouldn't leave many people left in the government. But if you'll join me with that, we can start to chip away at that problem you have with the counties around DC.
We've just got some breaking news from this Keir
Lovely.
Starmer, Donald Trump
Fucking beautiful.
encounter at the White House.
Beautiful.
In the Oval Office, Trump invited J.D. Vance to expand on his criticism of the UK for its free speech issues and alleged infringements in recent times. And he said, sitting opposite Sir Keir Starmer, we have a special relationship with the UK and our European friends, but there have been infringements on free speech. And Starmer hit back saying, we've had free speech for a very long time in Britain. It will last a long time, and we are very proud of that. So a bit of a battle, Benny. We talked just now about what was going on with the rape gang scandal in Britain, which was a proper scandal. Keir Starmer was not in the end proven to have suppressed any information about that. In fact, the opposite turns out to have been the case. He did more than his predecessor at Director of Public Prosecutions to try and go after them. But putting that to one side, I do think there has been some creeping infringement of freedom.
So the U.S. is building up the Red Army.
Speech rights.
More or
People
less.
getting like grandmothers being arrested for stuff they're putting on Facebook is not indicative to me of a free democratic society working how it should.
Of course not. It's what the Gestapo used to do in East Berlin when half of the entire city were spies for the federal government and everyone's snitching on each other. By the way, Sam, I love this debate. Piers, this is why I love your show. Because I love free speech. And I love being able to
I love free speech.
Right?
I love being able to look at this and just say like,
crazy,
you
Sam,
guys.
I totally agree with you. Let's defund the lobbyists. I could not agree with you more. In fact,
Cool.
actually,
Great.
like,
Glad
I do
we
want
agree on
all
that.
of
Will you
the
call
rich
for
people
Donald
who've
Trump to
existed
actually
off the glut
uphold his vow
of the federal
not to
government?
hire
I think that there should be.
lobbyists?
I think there should be a lifetime ban.
Ro-Khanna just
Let me get this very
introduced,
clear. I think there should be a
legislation.
lifetime ban on lobbying for members of Congress. Lifetime ban. I think that lobbying should be severely curtailed in our federal government, and I
You
think
should
that it should
encourage
be illegal.
Republican lawmakers to vote
think
in
it should be
favor of
illegal.
Ro-Khanna's bill that he just introduced.
It's crazy how you can come to agreements on these things, because actually that's the level of corruption that we're fighting. And I know Jillian cares very deeply about the former head of the FDA who was in charge of pharmaceutical approvals going over to take the top position at Pfizer, which just happened yesterday. That's insane. So we might get agreement here, actually.
Jillian?
Well, wait, guys, but corporations are good. Corporations are good, though, right? I thought that's what the Republicans loved, was private corporations. Don't they love private corporations? I thought that they were like really big fans of that. I thought that they loved that. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. They love them, except when they choose not to, because they need a scapegoat again, and anti-vax bullshit. Because that's what that is. What he's talking about. Just in case that wasn't clear.
I completely agree with Benny and Sam. I couldn't agree more. And one of the things actually that I would love to see Trump do is get money out of politics.
I gotta mute my game.
If you really want to drain this swamp, you will change those laws. And for me, in health, which is obviously my wheelhouse, I see it every single day with things like Benny just referenced, the revolving door employment policy with our government health agencies and private industry. So sign me up for that campaign, because I'm with the boys 100%.
Fantastic.
Okay, I
thank
think
you for being the
Shut
original
up.
mom.
The
Thank you
reason
for
why
being like the original mom.
budget resolution passed yesterday or 2 days ago was because Donald Trump has access in the form of Elon Musk to literally infinite amounts of money. And that is what has fundamentally changed with our politics. He put at least $300 million, one individual paid for at least 1/4 of Donald Trump's expenditures during that campaign. One single individual. And that's just what we know of direct spending. And if you add in Miriam Adelson and one or two other, you have literally 4 or 5 people who paid over $500 million for Donald Trump.
I still use a mask so I can stay safe,
money
Dan.
out of politics.
My Batman masks have saved many lives many times. I mean, whatever mask you need to wear if you feel comfortable with it, you do you. Though a Batman mask is very much like open mouth, so I don't know how well that does. But hey,
Steve
teach their
Bannon
own.
called for in
You do you.
2017, and now we're seeing Elon Musk do it illicitly.
We got to hold it. Just hold it. Hold
Because
it.
it is to allow corporations to profit and privatize their profits and socialize their costs.
Guys, hold your fire for a moment. Hold your fire for a moment. Just going to bring in another guest to
to disavow George Soros.
Okay, we'll come back to this.
Oh my god. Fuck off, dude.
It cuts both ways.
Hang on.
Fuck off.
I would love to see George Soros be subject to the same wealth tax as I would have for everybody.
Like, okay, yes, completely, like, he's a billionaire, so yes, fucking, but he's, like, they're using it as a fucking weird right-wing anti-Jewish thing. Like, that's so fucking weird. Who the fuck is this guy? What the fuck? What did I just look over on my other monitor and see? Who's this milady-looking motherfucker?
Shows and former MP George Galloway. George, always a pleasure to have
former
you on
MP.
Uncensored, particularly when you spent all afternoon spray gunning me on social media about how you're going to rip me to pieces. And as you often do, by the way, woefully mischaracterizing me as some kind of Starmer fanboy when I spent almost all of his tenure as Prime Minister hammering the guy. The only thing I've really agreed with is about Ukraine.
What is happening right now? What the fuck did this happen?
And Boris Johnson.
No. Don't misquote me. Don't misquote me. I am specific.
In the Ukraine.
You're specifically on Ukraine.
What the fuck is happening? Why did this just fucking turn into a personal vendetta of Piers Morgan?
But that does not
what
make
the
me
fuck?
a fanboy for either of them. I have many things I've hammered them over too. But on that point, you're wrong and they're right about Ukraine.
Well, you say that, but I'm on the same line as your friend Donald Trump and the American administration, and it's really come to something when, having spent a lifetime myself fighting against NATO and American wars, it's the Americans that are trying to stop the war, and Piers Morgan, Boris Johnson and Keir Starmer who are trying to keep it going.
I don't want to keep it going.
You've got a lot of Ukrainian.
I don't want to keep it going.
You've got a lot
What is
of
happening?
Ukrainian blood on
What the
your
fuck
hands.
is happening?
You have lied about this war.
How did
from
we
the
get
beginning.
here?
Vladimir
About the
Putin.
cause-
Actually, Vladimir Putin has the blood on his hands of Ukrainians.
You can
It was
have
Vladimir
a monologue
Putin.
if you like.
It was Vladimir Putin.
You can have a monologue if you like.
Three
but
years
if you
ago.
bring on a guest,
3 years
let
ago.
the guest speak.
3 years
Let
ago.
the guest
If you're going to
speak. For
libel
God's
me,
sake.
if you're going to libel
What is
me,
the
I will
point?
hold you to account.
You have lied about the origin of this war, about the duration of this war, about the course of this war, and now having caused you and your war party the death of 1 million Ukrainians while claiming to love Ukrainians, you're now calling for British lives to be lost.
What a load of absolute bullshit.
That constitutes.
What the I'm so confused on how we got here. Does anyone know?
Listen. Get off your Putin fanboy hat for a moment.
Well, you see, there you go.
I'm going to respond in kind.
Reagan said,
I'm going to respond.
Anybody who disagrees with you
Can I respond,
is a Putin fanboy.
Can I respond,
Listen,
please?
Why don't you listen to Donald Trump?
Can
he
I respond?
told you yesterday.
Can I respond?
Donald, well,
can I
after this
respond
line,
or not?
Donald Trump told you yesterday that joining Ukraine, forget about it. That's the cause of the war in the first place, which I've been telling you from the beginning.
Yeah, okay, let me
I
respond.
like how Sam's sitting there like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Sure, Piers.
Okay, Donald Trump, who I know well, I've been a friend of his for 20 years, good and bad. We've had some up times and bad. Spoke to him a few weeks ago. We had a great conversation. But he's absolutely wrong when he categorizes this as something that Ukraine started. Absolutely wrong to call Zelensky a dictator. The real dictator is Vladimir Putin. 3 years ago, he illegally invaded a sovereign democratic European country and started murdering with impunity Ukrainians. The Ukrainian people, to everyone's astonishment, managed to repel that early invasion by Russian forces and are still repelling them 3 years later. They've reached an impasse where there's been little movement on the battlefield now for many months, but hundreds of thousands on
How did
both
this
sides
become a
are
fucking
dying. It's
question of
back to World
the war
War
in
I
Ukraine?
scale of losses.
We
and
were
it
just
has
talking
to
about
end.
USAID.
I want the war to end like Trump does. I don't like his categorization.
Trump
of
doesn't
Zelensky
really
as a
want the war to
dictator.
end
I
because
don't
it
like the
doesn't
way he's trying to
further
make
his
out
goal
that
of
they
like
started this war when
another
it was Russia.
strongman.
But
Fucking Trump is on the side of strongmen. Like, you have to remember that. Like, look at all of the world leaders that he said that he admires. They are all fucking authoritarian strongmen, including, not limited to, Putin. Like, he said that he loved his conversation with fucking Kim Jong-un, and that he loved his conversation with Xi Jinping, and like that he gets along very well with Putin. And it's like, okay, man, like, you're literally like, you're sucking the dick of these fucking strongmen leaders. What the fuck? What the fuck? Just what the fuck? What is happening right now?
I do agree with him that we need to have peace, and I actually think he's inherited the situation, and I think his way to try and forge peace by doing a minerals deal with Ukraine, which should satisfy his critics back in, particularly the MAGA critics who don't like the way they've wasted, as they see it, all these billions on Ukraine. This way they can recoup that through the minerals. I think it's a smart business deal by Trump if that happens. I think there's a general acceptance.
Oh, that aged like milk. That fucking line aged like goddamn milk.
You have to have the war now frozen on current geographic lines so that Russia would keep the territory it's taken but not have sovereignty over that.
No!
And that Ukraine can try and politically get back the territory later because it would retain sovereignty. We'll see if that ever happens. But don't, please, with a straight face, try and tell me that Russia did not start this war 3 years ago. I know the history. I know what happened. And I know all the background to this, but the idea this is somehow
Why should Russia get to keep that land?
Fault and Ukraine's
I mean,
fault
land is fucking
an absolute
bullshit. Countries
joke.
are bullshit just to begin with. But like, why should they?
Blimey,
Why
that
should
was
they
a
be able to
long
keep that?
response, Piers. I hope I'll get as long to respond to your response without you interrupting me. You're going to regret it when very soon Zelensky is sitting in a beachfront villa somewhere counting his ill-gotten gains and all the secrets of the rampant corruption between the Democrats and the Zelensky regime begin to tumble out of the cupboard. This war did not begin 3 years ago. You very well know
No, it didn't.
that it began
That is
in
correct. Everything else he's
2014.
saying is not, but that is
You very
correct.
well know that it began with a coup against the elected president of Ukraine, backed
that's
by
wrong.
Victoria Nuland and the administration at that time, and supported by you. You very well know that the criminalization of the Russian language, which followed hard on the heels of that coup, was the proximate reason
We're just
for
going to
an
ignore
uprising
2014
in the east
and the
of the country
Donbass.
amongst Russian-speaking, ethnically Russian people.
Was it the Donbass?
You very well know
The land that Russia took in the
Zelensky and his predecessor
early 2010s.
rained down shot and shell on the people of East Ukraine for 8 years before Putin intervened in 2022, and that 14,000 people, most of them women and children, were killed in that onslaught. You very well know that Zelensky was preparing for a final onslaught, a final solution. And while I'm on that subject, you're
What the
always
fuck?
telling us how
What
much
the
you
fuck?
love the Jews. You're supporting a regime which puts up statues to Nazi collaborators, to generals of the Galician division of the SS. You are
Zelensky is
supporting
Jewish,
a
you know that,
regime
right?
that
You know
heroizes.
Zelensky's Jewish, right? Do you?
But that's like saying there's no racism in America
Oh, I
because
see.
Obama.
So a
because
Jewish.
Obama
So you're calling
was-
the
Yeah,
Jewish leader
listen,
of Ukraine a Nazi?
listen.
Is that your position?
No, I'm not. But
You
the
just did.
regime is. You know very well that all over Ukraine, the statues
Oh, boy.
and the heroization of Bandera and the SS in Galicia and the mass murderers of Jews, including at Babi Yar.
There are a
the
tiny.
greatest-
There
the
are
greatest
proportionally. I'm going to respond to
massacre
that.
in the
There are
Second World
proportionally,
War.
That sucks.
as you know. To quote you, I'll start this by saying, as you know, there is a tiny percentage of people in Ukraine who are neo-Nazis, as there are, by the way, in many of the neighbouring countries there,
Who's putting up these
including
statues
in
then?
Russia, right? And they are not
putting up these
They are
statues?
not. They are
Who's
not
putting
a
up these
significant.
statues?
They are
These
not.
people.
They are not.
They're calling
a significant-
libraries after
Let me
them.
finish.
They're
Let me finish.
calling university
Let me
wings
finish.
after
Let
them.
me finish. They are
There's
not.
a Bandera
Let me
street in
finish.
Kiev.
Let me finish. There are not a significant number of people, and for you to call the Jewish leader of Ukraine somebody who is leading a regime propping up Nazis is despicable. Despicable.
I've already said to you, that's like saying there's no racism in America because Obama was briefly the president of the country. The entire western part of Ukraine played a decisive role in the mass murder of Jews and Poles and others in the Second World War. And now they are heroizing the heroes of the SS and the other collaborating forces.
A tiny number
that
of
were
people do
involved
that,
in
as
the
you well know.
Holocaust of the
Tiny number
when
of
all
people.
these things become clear.
Let me ask you, why do you support?
Zelensky
Why
is
do you
sitting
support?
in-
Okay, let me ask you why.
when Zelensky is
Why
sitting
do
in
you
What
support
happened
a-
to
why
this
do you
fucking
support-
panel in this
counting
debate?
Let me
money,
finish.
you're going
What
to be
happened?
sorry
Fine.
for
Like,
all
Pierce just
the
like fucking
heroism
randomly
of it.
brought this
You know
guy
what,
onto the
George?
fucking stream.
You know what, George?
And now what
You
the
might
fuck
be
is
also
happening?
sorry for propping up a despicable Russian
Oh, no.
dictator
No.
who illegally invaded a sovereign democratic European country. You might look at yourself in the mirror in a few years when he carries on Putin invading other countries, which he will, because this was never about Russian speakers in Ukraine. This was all about trying to restore the Soviet Union. He's a despicable tyrant who will prove people like you to be useful idiots in this war.
Why doesn't Donald Trump agree with you?
Because he's wrong.
Well, you know, you have been up his ass all of these 2 decades.
Really?
You've kissed his feet.
Really?
You've licked his boots. You've fawned upon him.
Really?
You have been his super
know
fan.
what is
and
happening.
now, on this fundamental question of our age, he's entirely wrong.
Well, no, it's wrong to call Zelensky a dictator, make out he's the perpetrator of the war. Yes, he's right to forge
Dog,
peace.
I am so
He's right to
fucking
forge peace.
lost.
And by the
Like,
way,
how we got
I
here.
hammered,
Like,
by the way, I hammered Trump so much over things like the COVID pandemic,
He
January
hammered
6th,
Trump?
stolen election. He didn't talk to me for 6 months. So this idea I'm always sucking
no,
up to him is
he
complete
didn't
lies
talk
again.
to you for
Complete
6
lies.
months.
Piers, everybody watching knows you are Trump's biggest ass.
I like
kisser.
him. I like
Everybody
him.
watching
I like
knows
Donald
that.
Trump.
I know you like him.
I like
don't
him,
like him.
and on
You
many
like him.
things, on
But-
many
but
things,
on this, he's
I
wrong.
like him,
On
and
the
on many things.
fundamental question.
Let me finish.
The biggest question
yeah.
in politics in the world today, he's got it completely wrong.
No, you didn't hear me. Why didn't you listen to what I said?
What do you mean I didn't hear you?
I've literally said to you, on his plan to get peace, I agree with him. I don't agree with him about calling Zelensky a dictator, and I don't agree that it was
I'm
Ukraine that started the
so
war.
lost on
you
how we
do,
got
because
here.
you're Putin's little expettle.
Ukraine was the most corrupt country.
What, more
in
corrupt
Europe
than Russia?
Before,
More corrupt
yes,
than Russia?
It was designated by the economists,
What about Putin?
by the FT,
What about Putin?
by everyone who knows
What
about
about
these
Putin?
things.
Tell me
Joe
about Putin.
Biden. Listen, Joe
What's
Biden's
Vladimir
corruption,
Putin,
Joe
George?
Biden.
The Biden family's
George, what is
corruption in
Vladimir
Ukraine
Putin?
What the
will turn
fuck
out
is
to be
happening,
What is
dog?
Vladimir Putin?
Stop parroting these things.
What is
You're
Vladimir
going to
Putin?
regret
Okay,
it.
I need to.
It is Zelensky
Tell me about
and his
Putin.
predecessor
You can't do
and
it, can
Joe
you?
Biden
You cannot
and
do
Barack
it.
Obama
You will not
and
criticize.
George-
Anyway, always
Well,
a pleasure having you on Uncensored. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let me just quickly go to my panel for their reaction. I mean, as you can tell, George and I didn't wholeheartedly agree with each other, although mainly because he was trying to mischaracterize my position on this. I don't have a problem with what Trump's trying to do with the peace deal. I have a problem with how he's characterizing this. Sam, let me just ask you about that. I think I don't think Trump has a lot of choice or options other than the path he's pursuing here to get peace, and I applaud him for doing it. But I also think that the way they're trying to characterize this as all coming from Ukraine is utterly disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean, it's just simply a matter of fact that Russia invaded Ukraine. I mean, it's anybody who was sent it was aware of that. I mean, I hope there is peace there. I think the mineral rights deal is both a is really, I think, more of a paper tiger than anything else. I don't think that there's really much value in those rare minerals, as they're called. But if it
according to Trump, they're raw earth minerals, or raw earth, not rare, raw. We're getting raw earth minerals. It's a deal. It's a lovely deal.
allows for Putin to realize that there's a commitment by the United States and it causes a peace to break out, then I'm all for that. I would appreciate if the United States was not in a position of extracting other countries' resources. We have an obligation to Ukraine because of the 1993 agreement that led to Ukraine giving up the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world, that we would protect them from an invasion by Russia. And so I think there's an obligation we have. But, I think if the Ukrainian people want peace, which my sense is that they are, after 3 years of war, are probably exhausted by this, then I hope this is the fastest route to getting it.
Yeah, I mean, Benny, you and I don't necessarily agree about this, but I think we could probably all agree about Trump trying to get peace is a good thing. I like to see an American president who pursues peace, not war. I also think he's being pragmatic.
Yeah, he was such a peaceful
how
dove,
deals
bro, and
with
he is
the
such a
people
peaceful
in his
dove.
own side,
So
particularly
peaceful.
the MAGA support that he has, who are very anti this, of continued support for Ukraine. But if there's a business arrangement to be done that involves the minerals, which looks like you're getting a quid pro quo, that is an easier sell to probably his base, which I can get that. And in return, Ukraine's going to want America to be part of the security guarantee to make sure if they do this deal on the current geographic lines, Putin won't come and attack them again. I mean, how do you feel about the way I've characterized that?
Well, let me begin
Dan, turn it
by
off,
speaking
please.
for
I
my
mean-
entire panel here by saying that was wonderful. Maybe there is free speech left.
Why
in
did
the
they let
UK.
these morons talk?
What
Just
we
turn
just
it off.
watched
I
would
mean,
be tantamount to two drunken uncles going to blows on Thanksgiving here in the States. Now, you don't have Thanksgiving in the UK, so maybe you don't understand the reference.
Christmas.
Piers,
We do it at
but that was-
Christmas.
Those were drunken uncles, okay? Box of wine, right? Too much whiskey on Thanksgiving and too much turkey.
is there
And
any?
a lot of
Okay, wow, and then it ends like not long after that, and then he like does another close up on fucking Benny Johnson. Like, what the fuck? Okay, we're done with that video, I think. Alright, I want to watch this one. Yeah, it's just lies upon lies upon lies upon lies upon lies.
Well, I haven't been making overtly political videos for very long, and to be fair, I haven't really been alive for very long at the ripe old age of 23. I, like
Here's the
many
original
of you,
video.
have been steeping in the world of
This is Ryan White. Why is there no alt-left pipeline?
online political discourse for what has felt like my entire life. I also made the grave mistake of pursuing a degree in a political social science, so luckily for me, my entire education has also revolved around various attempts to understand how politics operates in the age of the internet. And one of the most common political themes I've seen referred to in the past decade on social media is that of the alt-right pipeline. The idea is that there's a mechanism that exists on the internet which, primarily through recommendation algorithms on video sharing sites like YouTube or TikTok, captures the attention of your average Joe and slowly pushes their views further and further toward the right. Now, in academia, the alt-right pipeline term refers specifically to this algorithmic mechanism. However,
now I don't know if this creator is going to get into what the alt-right pipeline is, but a lot of what you see in or what you saw, I should say, in 2016, 2015 is really when it started. that was really kind of like the beginning of the alt-right pipeline. I remember almost getting sucked into the alt-right pipeline. I was really close to getting brought into that. I'm not proud of that fact, but it is something that happened. You know, I was listening to a lot of creators that were funnels to that, and I'm really glad that I never really listened to any like overtly political podcasts or talking heads or individuals, because I personally fear that I would have gone down that route. Thankfully, I didn't, and thankfully I've learned a lot about the world, and I've learned a lot about like what is going on, really. So, you know, my my journey to the left was fairly difficult. Not difficult, that's the wrong word. It was how do I it was a lot of like rewiring. So the furthest down the right wing pipeline I got was like Democrats Now style right wing, and a lot of what turned me away from the right wing pipeline back then was like just the weird vitriol that they had for minorities, really, and for gay people, and just anyone who was LGBT. I actually, honestly, LGB, because I didn't understand transness. I didn't understand the trans experience. I didn't, you know, to me it was a weird thing. But I was open-minded, and I made mistakes. I made stupid comments. I made stupid jokes. I said dumb shit when I was growing up. And I still consider like myself as growing up, really, when it comes to stuff like that, because I'm still learning, and I'm still trying to like not make up for what I did before, or because I didn't even really do anything before, but for what I said before, for the little comments that I made here and there, and I'm trying to learn about that, and I'm trying to like re-educate myself and continually educate myself so that I don't make those same mistakes in the future. Because the last thing I want to do is hurt someone. Really, it's not that hard. It's not hard to understand like why I would go from like almost going down the right wing pipeline to then being able to pull myself out of it. And I'm glad that I did. I remember one moment of that journey. I was this is back when I was just kind of like trying to find some content to just kind of like have on in the background, and you know, to like do work to, or to, you know, hang out to, or whatever. And I found the H3 podcast. Fucking, I'm glad I didn't keep watching that now, especially, but you know, back then I started watching, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Like they're talking about some like interesting topics, and then, you know, occasionally they would have like a political figure on, and that's when I started like really paying attention, when they had political figures on. And then they had Jordan Peterson on, and I remember thinking to myself, huh, yeah, no, he makes some good points. That's interesting. Like maybe I should like reconsider this about this, and this about that, and whatever. And just, my God, I'm so glad that I never went down that line of thinking of him being a prolific genius. Because, oh my God, no. Just absolutely fucking no. So, you know, I'm not gonna hide that from anything. So I'm interested to see what he has to say about the alt left pipeline and why there is none, because I haven't really thought about that. So we'll see what Ryan White has to say about it.
I think most of us use it in a more broad way to sort of refer to the process of radicalization that can occur not just on video sharing sites, but on other social media, forums and Shan boards, and in certain offline local communities as well. And while there is a lot of media out there talking about the concept of the alt-right pipeline and how it works, I want to pose a different question today. Why is there no alt-left pipeline? We're going to walk through a quick framework to answer that question as simply as we can, but before we do that, a quick disclaimer. This is not going to be incredibly in-depth in terms of analysis, but I do plan on expanding on some of these topics in later videos. The main goal is to answer the question without overly complicating things. So, let's get on with that. There's a pretty logical through line that we can track in order to figure out why the alt-right pipeline works, and by negation, why there couldn't be a true alt-left pipeline of a similar nature. First, we need to sort out what the goal of a radicalization pipeline is. In my understanding, its goal is to capture the attention of one who is relatively disinterested in politics, the majority of people, and not only make them interested in politics, but eventually interested in radical politics and political activism in favor of the community that radicalized them. Since I'm American, I'm going to use our political parties in history for the rest of this video, but I think the ideas are relatively sound.
I'm interested to see if a lot of the things that I was seeing at the time of like the 2016, 2015, 2016 run of, you know, political content online, and like what I encountered is going to be what he ends up talking about, because a lot of that was connected, like no question about it. A lot of it was connected. Like fucking forum sites were filled with Nazis. If you want like a really good breakdown of a lot of this stuff, there's a journalist, Robert Evans. He's the host of Behind the Bastards. He does a lot of podcasts. But I remember there was something that he wrote. He followed that, and like the alt-right pipeline, like he followed that for a while and like really covered it in depth. I'll have to find the sources and throw them in the Discord. But yeah, he did one of the times that he talked about it on Behind the Bastards. He really did a really good job at breaking that down in like a digestible way where it like all kind of started clicking.
In the modern alt-right pipeline, in my opinion, is the media ecosystem that the Republican Party has been building since the 1990s. I could go on for hours about this one, but I will...
Longer than the 90s. Longer. The takeover of the media in all forms was pre-90s. I'd say probably closer to like the 80s.
Spare you that for now. All we need to know is that like back in the early 1900s, there was a large public distrust in Republican economic policy after the Great Depression. This caused the Republican Party to more closely align itself with the Democrats, not just in economic policy, but later in other social policy efforts as well. The alignment between the two parties is what eventually allowed for the New Deal era to occur, since both parties agreed on a general direction for the country, only disagreeing on how to implement certain policies, for the most part. And as we well know, in regards to most social movements, each surge in a certain ideology is met with an opposing reaction. And this is effectively what allowed Ronald Reagan to take the presidency in 1980. What is important to understand at this point is that the strategy efforts as well. The media ecosystem that the Republican Party has been building since the 1990s. I could go on for hours about this one, but a large public distrust in Republican economic policy after the Great Depression. This caused the Republican Party to more closely align itself with the Democrats, not just in economic policy, but later in other social policy efforts as well. The alignment between the two parties is what eventually allowed for the New Deal era to occur, since both parties agreed on a general direction for the country, only disagreeing on how to implement certain policies, for the most part. And as we well know, in regards to most social movements, each surge in a certain ideology is met with an opposing reaction. And this is effectively what allowed Ronald Reagan to take the presidency in 1980. What is important to understand at this point is that the strategy of the Republican Party began to...
Okay, so yes and no. I think that is a fair characteristic of it, but part of me has to disagree with that just a little bit. There was more to it than just the aligning on economic policies that allowed for the Republicans to really take power and take hold of the country within that time frame. The push from the Democrats to be more moderate actually hurt them. And wow, it's almost like when the Democrats go moderate, they lose voters. Who would have thought? But we're actually seeing a lot of similarities between this election and the Jimmy Carter election and him getting into the presidency. And I don't know if he's going to talk about this at all, but you know, a lot of what ended up drawing Democratic voters away from the party and also harming the party in the long run was the move away from New Deal politics and the New Deal era of politics. They went for this more moderate, less pro-working class candidate in Jimmy Carter. And when that happened, there was a lot of backlash. It was one of the Kennedys. I can't remember which Kennedy it was that was a senator at the time. He ran against Carter in the primary, and, you know, he ran on new era politics. He was like, no, this is what the people want. People want there to be social safety nets. People want there to be these things that we provide for them to help them. Like, we are here at the behest of the American public. So he lost the primary and Jimmy Carter won. Jimmy Carter was weak on a lot of things, hurt a lot of individuals, fucked with unions big time. I remember my grandfather, his business, like, I don't remember, but I heard stories from my grandfather about Carter and how he harmed the trucking industry big time. And that pushed a lot of people away from the Democratic Party. Those who were Democrats before either didn't vote or just, you know, didn't care enough to vote anymore. So that's why a lot of that era, the, you know, post World War II era, we see a ton of Republican presidents.
Shift. They noticed that their conservative policy proposals were relatively unpopular amongst the general public, especially in states required to win elections. If they could instead create a system where politics was more about culture than actual policies, they could attempt to convince Americans that they were the right choice to pick because they were the more patriotic.
This part is accurate. See, I don't think what he said at all was inaccurate. There's just more to it than just that. But yeah, the culture war, like focusing on the culture war instead of focusing on the actual issues, and then equating these issues to being American is easily how they won in the culture war and are still winning in the culture war. As dumb as that fucking sounds, it is true. And that started with Reagan in the 80s.
Or constitutional or working class party, despite there being a clear dissonance between those phrases and their actual policy proposals. And this is where the media ecosystem comes in. In the 1990s, the Republican Party and its donors began to invest a significant amount of funds and resources into building a widespread media apparatus with the goal of uniting the many small conservative coalitions throughout the country under a single narrative. The idea was to convince anyone from business owners to evangelicals to even your average dissatisfied American that the establishment Democrats were coming to destroy the very fabric of the United States and that the small town Republicans were going to stop them, so long as you donate to them and vote for them. This media narrative also consisted of broad moral panics, reimaginings of American history, and an oddly postmodern...
And now look at what's happening. The Democrats are kind of taking that position and just not doing anything with it. oh guys, just vote for us because we're not them, and we'll fix it if you let us in, but we won't actually. And that's the biggest difference, is that the Republicans will do something while the Democrats will just like sit on their ass and not actually do anything about it.
And skepticism and pessimism, not only about the Democrats, but also any Republicans that might sympathize with their causes. And this narrative caught on like wildfire, whether it be on AM radio with Rush Limbaugh or cable news with Sean Hannity and the Fox News crew. And it served as
Rush
the
Limbaugh was
foundation
huge
for the
with that,
Republican strategy
and for
on
that.
how to win
Massive.
elections. If you can't make people vote for your party, make them vote against the other.
Yep. And what the fuck are the Democrats
Let's
doing?
move
Making
on
it
to
so
the
that you
second
vote against the other,
These
not voting
conservative
for
narratives,
them.
like blaming economic instability solely on immigration, or
Just keep
claiming
that in mind.
the LGBT community is corrupting children, bigotry in general toward any non-straight cisgender white male group, they generate fear. And let me be clear, both parties attempt to play into these narratives to try and win elections. However, it is important to note that there are multiple studies, which I've linked in the description, that show that individuals with conservative policy leanings are also more likely to focus on negative narratives and to have increased sensitivity
More
to
actual
perceived
discussion is
threats.
happening right
in
now.
that context, it makes sense why both parties try to use these narratives.
I just
win
wanted to watch that
elections.
other one because Sam Cedar was on it, and I love Sam Cedar, but the other fucking clowns on that panel just ruined it.
Republicans need to activate every conservative that they can, and Democrats want to win on the margins by flipping center-right Republican voters. Both parties engaging with negative, fearful narratives is also great for the alt-right pipeline because fear makes people want to protect themselves and the things they love. And alt-right ideals are broadly centered around hatred toward outgroups, ultra-conservative social policies, and isolationism and nationalism, all of which can be fostered by the repetition and installation of fear. Leftist ideals, however, broadly advocate for community-focused solutions that are inclusive and perhaps most importantly, new or progressive. That's why the left can't necessarily utilize fear. While the right's goal is to protect itself against perceived threats, the left's goal is to overcome obstacles of fear, to incorporate and advocate alongside groups that are marginalized and exploited by neoconservative capitalism. Instilling fear would mean to shift the blame onto someone else. Leftist movements seek to take responsibility and first create change from the inside. Fear, in the way that conservatives utilize it, is incompatible with these goals, and in the modern media landscape means that leftist ideals are less likely to spread in the public consciousness than conservative ideals. Now the third point. Young people have a lot of problems going on all the time. That's kind of what being young is about. However, for the sake of this video, we have to look at what kinds of problems would cause someone to become susceptible to the siren's call of a radicalization pipeline. In Innuendo Studios' alt-right playbook, the accumulation of problems that lead someone into a pipeline is called soul sickness. This sickness can be brought on by many things, but perhaps most importantly are trauma and isolation, especially amongst men. And to be clear, this isn't me doing a feel bad for all white men because they're racist bit, but just hear me out. Folks that have had traumatic or life-changing events occur to them are most likely to become susceptible to these right-wing narratives, as they not only provide an outlet for anger and a community to...
You have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional tomorrow and you don't have a deck to play? Bruh. I mean, if you have a hero core, you could play hero. Hero's fun. It's a good deck, kind of, maybe. I actually don't know, because I haven't played Modern Hero. I don't know what the evil hero stuff looks like, but it could be fun.
To fill in those support roles that might have otherwise been lost through their trauma, but also
did you see
a
my
series
Discord
of
DM?
common enemies to direct that anger toward as a community. This is why, anecdotally, divorced dads and young lonely men are the most likely to fall into these pipelines, since modern conservative social standards isolate and generally prevent men from expressing camaraderie or brotherly love for each other. Those pesky leftist community-oriented vibes are not at all what these folks are looking for. Often, they feel victimized by the state or by their ex-wives or their classmates or whoever else, and they just want a place to direct that anger. Rarely do they ever want a solution to it. Their problems are just a given to them. On to the fourth point. Any given person that feels vaguely victimized then is a lot more likely to pay attention to the more surface level commentators on the right, because they broadly speak to that person's worsening material conditions without getting too in the weeds about actual politics.
Yeah, I mean, look at, you've got your culture warriors. First it was Rush Limbaugh, then it was Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson. Now you've got your Ben Shapiro's, you've got your Matt Walsh's, Benny Johnson, the guy who was on the last video that we watched. Like, all of these guys are very, very clearly like just leaning into this culture war thing, and it works because it gets these young men, these young disaffected men, seemingly disaffected men, it gets them to, oh my god, I just got bodied. It gets them to oh, you didn't? Okay, I'm bad at DMing and looking at my DMs. Oh, you have a deck to play. You just have to look at it. Don't worry, I've been listening to a few people that don't have a full deck. But yeah, like you've got all these culture warriors who are just out here who are like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you what's wrong with the country, and it's not corporations not paying you, it's not billionaires, it's trans people and people of color and everything but what's actually wrong in the country. Just ignore all that stuff. Only focus on the things that don't actually matter in the long run. And that's their playbook. It's been their playbook. Their playbook is always to divide and conquer. And you divide the working class by telling them that the real enemy are minorities. Unfortunately, that's just true.
In the 90s, this character was played by Limbaugh, Hannity, Buchanan, and Fox News in general. And nowadays, it's Elon Musk, Jordan Peterson, Dave Rubin, and Ben Shapiro, just to name a few. The left simply does not have the same game. The Democratic Party funds liberal news outlets and commentators, not leftist commentators. So the only place folks are able to be introduced to leftist commentary is, what, on BreadTube? I love PhilosophyTube and ContraPoints, of course, but they're just unable to meet the vast majority of people where they are, especially if those people are dissatisfied with what they perceive as culture war persecution against them. The Republican Party has bet its entire future on meeting these people, straight men and their wives, where they are, and not just slowly pushing them positively toward the right, but negatively away from anything perceived as leftist.
Yep. It's real easy to win when you've made the other side look silly. Which is why I tried to honestly make the right look silly whenever I talk about politics, because like these guys are just fucking weird. Like, they are weird to care about the things that they care about to the extent that they care about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking weird to care this much about trans people. Like, people, I have had conversations with people where they know more about gender dysphoria than I do, and they fucking hate trans people. It's like, you guys know too much about this. Like, you know far too much about this to hate this. Like, you're weird for that, bro. You are weird for that. Like, it's good to be educated, don't get me wrong, but like, when I, an ally, know less than you do, strictly because you are learning it out of hate and spite and like weird spite, that's just fucking strange. That's strange behavior.
And the last point, this funneling of regular Joes into rival political teams has created an environment in which parties seeps into our personal identities and our identities into our parties. The process of this occurring is one of a few forms of political polarization. And in a politically polarized country, the average person becomes significantly more anxious regarding political outcomes, and guess which party created a whole media ecosystem to take advantage of this anxiety?
Yep.
It's actually both parties, but the Democrats' media ecosystem is also primed against leftists, since leftist positions are too extreme to advocate for, which is also not the best hill for the Democrats to die on.
Quote unquote
because,
extreme.
To cite a recent example, some
Oh,
of
no.
Kamala Harris's
I think
most
everyone should be able to
successful
eat and have a
campaign
roof over their
promises
house.
during her 2024 election were her pledge to prevent grocery price gouging, her plan to have a 25% income tax for billionaires, and the strengthening of collective bargaining laws for unions, all of which polled with over 60% favorability amongst the general electorate, and all of which are leftist policy proposals, which she quickly abandoned due to her party's priming against leftists.
Yep, and that's the big thing, right, is that the Democratic Party does not like leftists. They don't, because they're not, and they never will be. They are always going to be primed against them. They are always going to work against them, and they're going to work on the behest of capital and the behest of capitalism. You are going to only ever find a like, there are very few Democrats within the establishment party that are not, like, completely for capital, and, like, maybe one or two are, like, completely anti-capitalist. Even Bernie's not really anti-capitalist. Bernie still believes that capitalism can work. He's a social democrat, which is pro-capitalist still. I know a lot of people look at Bernie as like a socialist, but he's a social democrat. He's more like in line with the Nordic countries and how some of them operate and how some of them act. It's not like this big socialist dream to have him as president. It would be better, but it wouldn't be what a lot of like introductory leftists think, because a lot of leftists know what Bernie is, still very useful to the movement, still very, like, educated and honest and very great at what he does, but not a leftist. More left than anyone else in the government, though, for sure. Maybe AOC and the squad are, like, kind of either on his level or just a little bit above, but yeah.
And their policies. Huh. All right, let's wrap this all up into one tight bow and send you on your way. There is no alt-left pipeline because a political radicalization pipeline requires a few things to begin. Charismatic voices with massive investments from deep political pockets, subtly stoking the flames of fear en masse and in the public sphere. The Republican Party specifically engineered the right-wing media apparatus to do these things, and there are no equivalent voices on the left, no deep leftist pockets to invest in the potential voices that there may be, and perhaps most importantly, no additional fear generated by the community-focused ideals of leftist politics. Even if fear is generated by the left, as we saw earlier, that fear will make someone more likely to adopt conservative policy preferences. And this is why your average dissatisfied American won't fall down a pipeline to the alt-left, and is also perhaps why the left should attempt to increase organizational efforts rather than attempting to go high by meeting the right in the marketplace of ideas. Because the very fabric of the marketplace is stacked against them. And that's it for this lovely political video. Next week, we're going to be getting into a non-political topic. We're going to be talking about fake plants and nature simulation devices, as I call them. Like the grounding mats that, I don't know if you've seen them on like social media recently, but it's these ads for these like yoga mats where you plug them in and it takes like the ground charge from the outlet, and then it makes you feel like you're outside on the ground, but you're inside now and you don't have to breathe all that pesky fresh air and whatever. We're going to be talking about stuff like that, so subscribe if you want that, or subscribe if you want videos like this, or subscribe if you just can't get enough of my silky.
Yeah, no, go subscribe to Ryan White. Solid video, truly. So that's why I think a lot of leftist creators on the internet are useful, like very useful for the movement as a whole. Man, I didn't get to carve. That sucks. Whatever. I fainted twice though, so I guess it's fine. I guess it makes up for it. That's my bad as well. So, you know, you look at like and love him or hate him, Hassan Piker is a great introductory to the movement. Not the end all, obviously, but a great individual to start your journey with. Then you got, things like the Majority Report. I used to say the Young Turks, but I'm not going to say them anymore. They've gone to like a weird right-wing shift. They're more like they're more in line with like CNN now than they are with actual leftists and leftist movements. But I dig this style of content, and this type of stream. I'm into it. Let me know if it's something that you feel like you're interested in as well. Because I'll do more of it, because this was a good time. I've got a playlist that I'm compiling things into and getting bits into for more videos to watch. So let's see. I've got, I can remove this one. I'm going to subscribe to this though and like the video. I'm just going to leave a quick comment. Great stuff. Interactivity. But yeah, I've got 2 more. No, I've got 3 more. Hold on, let me check here. 4 more. I've got 4 more videos on here that I really want to watch. So I think maybe we'll try and do this on maybe on Monday. No, maybe not Monday. I'll let you know. I will figure out when I will be doing this again, because I want to. I really do. I had a good time with it. It seems like all of you did, who were here and who are some of the more active members of my chat. So it is what it is, right? We're gonna keep moving on. We're gonna keep doing it. So I'm gonna keep doing this because I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. I'm waiting for the ad to end, which there's 30 seconds left on that. So, you guys want to see Ferb?
Hey, little man. You're by the door. You trying to leave me? Are you trying to leave me? Are you trying to leave me? Huh? Come here. Come here.
Ferb, what do you have to say? Do you have any words of encouragement for the people? You speak right here. No? Give all your doggy friends treats. Is that your message? So yeah, it's been a minute. This is my new dog. His name's Ferb. He's been around for oh, buddy. He's been around for a couple months now, since November. He's my little bud. Love this guy. What do you think? You have a message that you want to give? Just sniffs? Okay. I've been replaced. No one could replace you, Polar. All right. But yeah, I think I'm gonna do more of this going forward. I've got plans tonight, so I gotta bounce. But I wanted to get in a little stream, because I thought it would just be fun to do like a couple hours of this to see how it would do, see how it would feel, and honestly, it felt good to do. So, with that being said, I appreciate you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for being here. Until I see you next, I hope you all stay happy, healthy, and safe. And wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good night, and goodbye.